Hey guys, welcome back to Harrison Hacks. Today I have an excellent video for you. This is a bunch of the retro gaming community coming together and answering one simple question. What does retro gaming mean to me? Stay tuned.
Welcome Harrison Hacks.
Hello everybody, this is 8-Bit Flashback. And recently, Harrison Hacks reached out to me for a project he's been working on. What does retro gaming mean to you? For me, it's simply just revisiting the games I grew up playing. I was a kid during the 80s and 90s, and that was an amazing time period for video games. I started off with the Atari 2600, then Nintendo, then Genesis, and Super Nintendo. And just when I thought it couldn't get any better, the 3D gaming scene began with PlayStation, Sega Saturn, N64, and Dreamcast, which is my favorite console of all. Retro gaming is just a huge time capsule for me. The second I pick up that controller or pop in that game, I'm immediately taken back in time to a memory of playing that console. Like right now, I'm thinking of the Sega Channel, a cable service that provided 50 plus games per month that you could play on your Genesis console. Who out there remembers the Sega Channel? And now I'd like to thank Harrison Hacks for inviting me to his channel, and all the fans out there for the support on my channel and others like mine, which help keep the retro gaming scene alive. Okay, it's time for me to go. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Harrison Hacks, and have yourself a great day. And I'll see you again sometime.
What retro gaming means to me, well, it means my childhood. Hours and hours and hours of playing games, with my brother, or my friends would come over, we'd play multiplayer, everything from one-on-one Blades of Steel to I remember when Donkey Kong Country for SNES came out. Spent so many hours on that. Mario RPG, Contra, Base Wars, we played that a lot. All these really, really great games, blowing on the cartridges. Just the whole experience, now that you think back about it, it's just so nostalgic. And, I wouldn't take those memories away for anything. Like, I really had a lot of fun, and it really took away the time. Especially as kids, you have all this time. And it was, you weren't worrying about anything else. You weren't worried about bills. You were just, having a good time. And so, I look back at that, it was great. I think that I learned something from it. We got life skills out of it. How to do problem solving, how to use a map. And I think we can all agree that, when you see a broken wall, you bomb it, right? We all know that now. And, it teaches you patience. Sometimes you get a game over and you have to start all the way from the beginning again. So like, you might have been working for an hour and now you got to start back, but you would happily, start back. Well, sometimes not so happily. I know there's some ragers out there, but you'd get back into it and then try again, or you beat it. And then a couple days later, you're like, oh, I'm going to beat that again. And to me, like with a movie, if you really love a movie, you watch it a second, you watch it a third time. And a lot of games, that was that way, where it's like, let's do it a second time, let's do it a third time. And so to me, that's a statement to how much we enjoyed it. And then arcades, right? So there's the home retro gaming, and then you go to the arcade. You have the joysticks and all the buttons, and everything's lit up, but it's kind of dark inside as well. And I'd use my quarters up so fast on just playing all the games. And when you were done, you would just stand there and watch other people play the games. And I would stand there for hours until I had to go. And watching somebody who was good was amazing. Like somebody who mastered Mortal Kombat or mastered Primal Rage, and seeing with all the combos and everything else. Like it was watching somebody, the equivalent to somebody in like the Olympics doing like figure skating or something like that. Just they were so good at it and so smooth, and every input was perfectly timed, and the round would go so fast. That to me was awesome to watch, and it shows where kind of we've evolved now. But back then it was like that was really, it's like watching a street performer. It's just watching something you've never seen before, but when you watch it, you see it, you're just amazed. And so through all those experiences, from parties to by yourself, late at night, early in the morning, whenever it was a great time. And with all that said, I love it. And I'm actually really looking forward to teaching future generations about retro gaming, because I know that even then, when they pick up these controllers, you know, it still stands the test of time.
Hi everybody, my name is Gary and I am with Rocksaw Productions, and I was very excited when Harrison asked me what retro gaming means to me, and it means a lot of different things. For one, what I do for a job, I actually work in a pretty cool industry involved with RC, cars, trucks, boats, planes, drones. And when I got involved with actually working in the field, and I've been in that hobby since I was a freshman in high school, a good friend of mine told me that when your hobby becomes your job, it's not your hobby anymore. He was really, really onto something there, and it was pretty spot on. And in recent years, I've always been a gamer. Going back to the original Atari 2600, I had an NES, a Super NES, an N64, I had a GameCube, a Wii, a Wii U. Now I have the Switch. I've had other systems as well, PlayStation 1, 2, 3, and 4, handhelds galore. But what getting back into retro gaming has done is so many different things. First of all, it gave me an opportunity to have a YouTube channel, so I'm thankful to the community for that. Retro gaming allows me to go back, and I can't relive the past. You can't. You just keep moving forward. But what it does is it brings back so many awesome memories that I don't know if it comes back to anyone else, but it does to me. I remember playing Mario Kart on the Super NES in my friend Chris Springup's living room. Him and Mark Birdie and Chris Budish and a bunch of us just sitting there laughing, having a great time. And going back, and you can't relive that, but you can kind of relive the memories and remember how much fun you've had in the past. It's also given me the opportunity to share my passion with my daughter. My daughter Cassie is 16, and she's been a gamer almost as long as she's been able to walk and hold a controller. You know, she was so proud of herself the first time she beat me in Wii bowling. Being able to pass on the appreciation for this hobby to her, I've really appreciated. And passing it on and sharing it with my girlfriend Ginger too. She's not a gamer at all. And taking her to the Missouri Game Con and seeing her have fun and talking with people there. When we go to our local retro store, Live Action Games, watching her have fun and joke around with Adrian, the owner of the store. That personal relationship, that's what retro gaming really means to me. Being able to meet so many cool people has really made this even more fun than what I anticipated when I got back into retro gaming. Meeting people like John Riggs, meeting people like Adrian at Live Action Games, meeting people like Riff and Gabbo from the Pixel Game Squad, I almost call them the Superhero Game Squad. They haven't been that for a while. Being able to collaborate on things like this with Harrison, it's one of those things above everything else. Systems come and go. Games come and go. It's the people and the memories that you really need to take a step back and appreciate, because systems break, games stop working, but what you'll always have is the memories, how they made you feel, the enjoyment that you had, and basically the stories that you can tell moving forward. And that is what retro gaming means to me.
Hey everybody, it's your girl JLove81. What's going on, guys? I was asked, what does retro gaming mean to me? I've been playing retro games since I was 5 years old when the NES first came out. My very first game was Gyromite and Super Mario Brothers. Very first game. So I've been playing for a long time. I have gotten the Super Nintendo, the Nintendo 64, the Nintendo GameCube, and I got just recently a Sega Genesis, but I did play with friends, you know, and cousins, relatives' houses, the Sega Genesis back in the early 90s. But there's so many memories that I have with retro gaming. And the one thing I could tell you about retro gaming is no download time. We don't have to wait for any updates. You pop it in, it starts right away. It's a wrap. So I can't stand today's games having to constantly either update or wait for it to download, wait for it to install. No, not retro games. Retro games was just very simple back then. Even though the games were quite difficult because there were no tutorials back then, no unlimited continues. Yeah, pretty much if you died, that was it. It's a game over for you. You got to start again. So, you know what? There's great memories I've had. I've moved around a lot as a kid, and I always had my NES and SNES with me. And I remember even running games for it. Even if my parents couldn't afford getting me all the games, I still got to rent them. And I have such great memories. Sleepovers, friends always coming over to play. Even when the N64 came out, I was in high school. And I remember hanging out with a bunch of friends, constantly playing GoldenEye, constantly playing Mario Kart 64, Mario Party. I mean, those were awesome memories, and I cherish them till this day. So retro gaming is everything, even today. I met a lot of friends on YouTube because of retro gaming. The retro gaming community is one of the best communities I've ever been involved with, and I have such a blast streaming, such a blast hanging out with you guys. Retro gaming means the world to me, and I always have the NES to thank for it, plus my parents. Thank you for showing me something so awesome that I have been playing since I was this little, and I still continue to play until this day. So yeah, it's freaking awesome. I want to thank Harrison Hacks for including me in this. Thank you for making me reminisce. This was a lot of fun, and I will see you guys later.
Hey everybody, Patton here. So retro games mean a lot to me. I was from the age where retro games were first kind of really becoming a big thing. I mean, there was Atari and some other computer games and stuff like that, but when the Nintendo released, that's when people were really realizing what they can do with video games. And I have absolutely nothing against modern gaming. I got a Wii, I got a PS3. I mean, they're both hacked to play Super Nintendo games, but still, when you sit down and you play something from the Nintendo or the Super Nintendo, it brings you back to that time. You know, it's very nostalgic. You remember when you first picked up a video game, and you remember the first time you beat something. First game I ever beat was Super Mario Brothers. And I remember exactly how it went down. But again, retro games remind me of a time where it felt like the game was teaching you. You know, it didn't hold your hand. Jimmy's got to try and get across this pit. The game's not going to help you. Jimmy's going to fall down that pit. But what was happening, Jimmy was learning problem solving, how to get over the pit, using parts of his brain that maybe he didn't think about before. Something you don't learn in school. And what I think is cool is that retro gaming hasn't really gone anywhere. What you're seeing now is all these indie devs making these retro styled games with this pixel art, and people are going nuts for them. And I'd be lying if I didn't admit that I feel like I was in some kind of group that had to overcome all these obstacles to beat games that we had back in the day, as opposed to games that are out now. But there's a lot of modern games I really enjoy too. You know, I really enjoyed Demon Souls and Monster Hunter Tri. I played those for over 100 hours each probably. But retro games, with their simplicity, they can make a good game without these modern graphics, and all you had was a guy and you ran right and you had an objective. Usually it's rescue the princess or rescue your girlfriend. But if anything, I feel that retro games have a lot to do with honing the skills of a player, making them a real gamer. You had no choice but to fail to proceed. So that's what I take away most from my history with retro games. They taught me the skills I have now with how I play games today. I want to thank Harrison Hacks for reaching out to me, inviting me on his channel and in this video. I really appreciate it. And for all you guys watching, stay awesome.
Thank you, Harrison, and greetings to your audience. My name is Level 1 Online, and when I'm asked about what retro gaming means to me, the first thing that comes out of my mouth is this game right here, Chrono Trigger for the Super Nintendo. Now, this was the first role-playing game I had ever played, and up until that point, everything I had experienced was 2D side-scrolling. Basically, the objective was to get from point A to point B. It didn't matter what you had to do, whether you took a warp whistle, a warp pipe, or whether you put in a 30-man Contra code, it didn't matter. Now in this game, I was able to actually sit back and smell the roses, get a deeper appreciation. You see, in this game, I assumed the role of Chrono. So I was the protagonist. Now, playing games like Ninja Gaiden, I never saw myself in Ryu Hayabusa's shoes. So going back and revisiting these older games, I did it with the mindset of now I am assuming the main character, and I was able to experience these games in a whole new light. And on top of that, I got a better appreciation for graphics, for music soundtrack, for storytelling, and for overall progression system in games. The progression system in this game is very satisfying because not only did your character become stronger, but as a team, you got to combine your attacks for something that has rarely been reproduced in future games, which are the double tech and the triple tech attacks. Now, getting to the end of this game, it truly does feel like a culmination of every decision that you made. And I truly feel blessed to be able to take this opportunity to share this with the retro gaming community. This is something I feel that we're going to appreciate for many years to come. There's always new ways coming out to enjoy these games, and I'm really excited. This isn't the end. This is a new beginning. And thanks again, Harrison, for this opportunity. You guys take care.
What does retro gaming mean to me? Reliving some old memories. Moon Patrol, Frogger, Space Invaders. I'm pretty old school. I was into Street Fighter and stuff. So that's an obvious one. But for me, I mean, obviously I get into themes, so I like doing that. So retro gaming has that significance for me. But what I've found interesting is I've learned so much about old consoles and old arcade stuff that I just never knew. So yeah, for me, it's a hobby. I don't really play games anymore, but yeah, it's a great hobby, and I hope that my contribution has made other people's enjoyment of the hobby a little bit better. But yeah, anyway, it's pretty cool, and I plan to stick with it for a little while longer.
Hi, I'm Ninja UK, one of the guys at Arcade Punks, and recently Harrison Hacks asked the guys, what does retro gaming mean to you? I thought long and hard and think I have summarized what it means to me. For me, as a kid, I vaguely recall an Atari 2600, aka, the Woody, and playing Pac-Man, Space Invaders, and other classics. Whilst we never had an arcade near us, I do recall holidays and going into local arcades and being blown away. I remember an arcade opened up the other side of the city. It took 3 bus journeys to get there, but when we got there, it was like Mecca. I remember spending hours playing on eSWAT, Shinobi, Altered Beast, and even 4-playered up on the Gauntlet machine. Great memories of some great games. I love emulation because of the retro gaming, not because I can play XYZ machine on my single board computer or PC. I love having a library of classics at my fingertips to play on demand. Retro games are so much more playable than modern day games. Heck, most of the best ones only require 3 buttons, instead of 10. Is it because they are simple, or is it because I am now officially an old fart? I work with Arcade Punks, in my spare time, as a hobby, like the rest of the guys. Arcade Punks is a great opportunity to be at the head seat of the front ends being released. Things like Hyperspin, Attract Mode, Emulation Station, and Launchbox can, simply, blow me away when choosing one of the retro games to play. I'm a big Mega Drive fan, or Genesis to the rest of the world. Maybe that's because, as a boy, I had a Master System, purchased from my own paper round money, and then a Mega Drive. Then an Atari ST, everyone else got an Amiga. I eventually got a PC where I discovered Red Alert 2, and pretty much stopped at that. From memory, the PC had a massive 300 megabyte hard drive. Over 16 megabytes memory, and even had a color monitor. I then had children who owned a PlayStation, which I enjoyed spending time playing games such as Twisted Metal, Tony Hawk's, and Grand Theft Auto, eventually buying myself an original Xbox to enjoy San Andreas and Vice City. Meanwhile, the kids went through all the consoles, PS2, PS3, Xbox 360, where by now, as young adults, they have PlayStation 4s and Xbox Ones, including all this newfangled virtual reality. Whilst it's impressive to watch, I prefer to sit here on my Odroid playing N64 or heading to Arcade Punks HQ and hitting the multi-loaded PC-based cabinets. Because of my involvement with Arcade Punks, I do tend to go between different systems and front ends, tinkering with things instead of playing them. Like most of us, I tend to spend more time programming, setting up and messing with the front ends, rather than actually playing the games. Although I do tend to take some gaming timeouts for myself a few times a month. My most recent one I spent playing Streets of Rage as Homer Simpson in the edited Streets of Rage Simpsons edition. For me it's important to remember retro gaming and being able to access and play any of the games as and when you want. I am not a fan of modern day piracy, but I do believe once a title has stopped generating income for a business they should leave it alone. An older game does not have any value to the manufacturer once it becomes used and in a used game store, so leave it out and move on. Nintendo, please take note. So for me, retro gaming means enjoying the games, sharing my love of retro gaming with others, the community, having the pleasure to meet so many people with equal passion, the fact that retro is now cool which makes me cool, and, still, discovering many games I have yet to play.
Hey guys, Harrison Hacks here, and I'm answering one simple question for you today, and that's, what does retro gaming mean to me? And I think I can break it up into two things. So the first thing being, retro gaming means a lot to me as far as sharing it with my boys and allowing them to experience the older generation games in a new way. You know, the NES Classic, the SNES Classic, me and my son Titan play that all the time. Mason's a little young right now, but I'm sure he'll be a gamer as well, just like his big brother and his dad. And just enjoying this experience, playing those games all over again, only with someone who's never played them before, is just, it's almost undescribable. It's so wonderful, and it's such a good time. He's having a blast, I'm having a blast, and it's just it's an awesome, awesome thing. So I like sharing retro gaming with my boys. The second thing that retro gaming means to me is definitely the community. The retro gaming community, I mean, when I was watching other YouTubers a couple years back, and I was like, wow, like I'm a big fan. Like I went and created I think it was a Gmail account just so that I could subscribe to people and hit like and really wanted to show my support, you know, as a fan. And the more I watched, the more I was like, wow, like I'm really a big fan of these people, and the community seems really cool. There's so many different YouTubers. I didn't realize how big retro gaming really was. And so what I did was I went and started my own channel, and with no expectations of anything, just kind of like, hey, I wonder if people like what I did with the track mode. And I kind of took retro gaming, you know, bits and pieces from here and there and brought it all together and was like, if I'm hacking all these different people's things and placing them together with my own little flavor in there, I'm just going to be Harrison Hacks. So that, I guess that's kind of the origin of my YouTube channel as well, but retro gaming is, the community is what it is. I mean, without the community, you see so many different people and it never feels like competition to me. Everyone's always willing to help each other out. Whether you're going to the forums, whether you know someone private messages you or emails you and you guys are chatting back and forth, you know, that's what it's all about to me, is the community. I like to share everything that I can with people. Now, whether it's my work, whether it's my opinion, whatever, I like to share with everybody. And one thing I've noticed when I watched everyone in this video, and I was like, wow, everyone has a different aspect and a different take on what retro gaming means to them. But there's one common ground that I noticed, and it's an underlying thing, but it's a positive thing, and that's passion. Everyone in this video, all the other YouTubers who are not in this video, but they're a part of the retro gaming community, they all have passion. And that's one thing that's so important, and it's going to keep retro gaming alive for a very, very long time. There is still so many games that I haven't experienced that are retro games, right? They're from way back when, but they're new to me. And that's what I really enjoy, is like, wow, I never saw this game, or I never saw this game translated from Japanese to English. I mean, that's like, wow. And again, there's your passion. Somebody had the passion enough to go ahead and translate that game for us to enjoy. Even the viewers, when you post your comments and your likes and even your dislikes, I mean, you have a bit of passion in there. You either liked it, you didn't, or you felt strongly enough that you wanted to post a comment, whatever the comment may be. So to me, I think a big part of retro gaming is definitely passion. I want to thank everybody who was involved in this project. Everybody in the retro gaming community, I want to say thank you so very much. And I want to ask you guys one question, and I want you to post down in the comments. And my question to you is simple. What does retro gaming mean to you?